Hey guys, welcome to another video here on the AviationPro channel. In this video I'm going to cover my top 10 favorite aviation channels on YouTube. Now as you may know, there are of course a lot of aviation YouTube channels out there, and this video is really there just to show my top 10, the channels that I regularly watch, and whenever I see a video of them in my subscription list I generally click on it. So I have to be honest, it was very hard to assemble this list. There are many great channels out there, so if you have any particular channel that you'd like to recommend, make sure you leave it down in the comments. So there are going to be links to these channels in the description below, so make sure you pay them a visit and maybe subscribe. And without further ado, let's take a look at my top 10. Now some of these channels on this list will be very familiar, others maybe not so much, so hopefully you will enjoy it. So we'll start off this list with number 1, and that is Airclips. Now, Airclips is a really great channel where you can find a lot of free full flight videos from airliner cockpits around the world. So in their videos they just follow in crew flying an aircraft from A to B. You can really take a look at the ins and outs of flying a flight, from discussing the flight with the flight crew through preparing the airplane for departure, flying the flight and landing and arriving at the destination airport. And this is really nice. You can really learn a lot from this as a flight simmer. You can really see how an airliner of any type that you prefer is operated from A to B. So make sure you check out the channel, make sure you look up your favorite airliner. For example, one of my favorite flights is a flight with Lufthansa Cargo on the Boeing 777, where they fly from Frankfurt to Seoul. So it's a really nice flight, very nice crew, and you get to know different people, different types of crews from different backgrounds, and that's really great to see. You can really learn a lot from that, and of course you can really learn a lot from the operations that are involved with flying an airliner. Now, the second channel which is related to this is of course JustPlanes. Now JustPlanes is kind of similar to Airclips. They have more shorter videos on their YouTube channel, often featuring parts of a video from their actual products, because JustPlanes actually sells DVDs with footage where they follow an airline, flying different aircraft, sometimes flying different legs. So you will not really see full flights on that channel, but you will see clips of flights that are part of a DVD. So it's really nice, and make sure that you also check out their website if you want to find out your favorite airline, for example, and get to know their specific operations a little bit better. And just like Airclips, seeing it all in action, seeing an actual crew operate an airliner really teaches you a lot. You can really learn a lot and put that into practice on your own flights. Now of course flight simming is not only about flying airliners, it's also a lot about flying general aviation airplanes, and that's actually where it of course starts, and that's where number 3 on the list comes in, and that's MZeroA.com. MZeroA is a very nice YouTube channel as well, by Jason Shepard. They actually run an actual flight school in the US, and there are a lot of informative videos there where using their Cessna aircraft, they actually show a lot of stuff that you can learn from as a virtual pilot as well. So you'll find a wide variety of content on this channel, ranging from making climbs and descents in an aircraft, or making steep turns, or recovering from stall, or communicating with air traffic control using IFR procedures. So there's a lot of to learn from this channel. Just a lot of content really focusing on the basics, the basics of flying a general aviation airplane. That should also kind of be the basis for your flight sim career, in my opinion. So over the years I definitely used a lot of MZeroA's videos, so make sure you check that channel out as well. Another channel that's a lot about learning and teaching you stuff is number 4, and that's Boldmethod. Now Boldmethod is a really nice channel where they also discuss a lot of theory, but it's a little bit more focused on larger airliners and mostly on IFR. So in contrast to MZeroA, not really general aviation is featured, like Cessna 172, but Boldmethod actually has a lot of videos on IFR procedures that you would actually do with an airliner, so it's very useful. Things like entering holding patterns, flying sits and stars, how a jet engine actually starts. Really great content that's, I think, very well discussed. The guy running that channel really has a very clear way of explaining, very easy to watch. There are also some live streams where he actually does that live. I find that really interesting to watch, that he can just talk and very calmly explain what the theory is about. So if you really want to learn a little bit more about the IFR side of things and larger airliners, make sure you visit that channel. I think it can definitely be useful for your flight sim airliner career. And now onto the big channels, and we'll start with number 5, and that's of course Mentour Pilot. Now I bet most of you already know this channel, but I did want to include it in my list because it's simply one of my favorite channels to watch. Now this channel features a Boeing 737 pilot in Europe, and he really explains a lot in different videos, you know, explaining a lot of theory, and recently also discussing a lot about the Boeing 737 and its trim issues, you know, related to the Boeing 737 MAX incidents. Now in general, these videos are more aimed towards the general public. You know, if you look at, for example, Boldmethod videos, it's really about you know, pilots, you know, really a lot of theoretical information. But the videos by Mentour Pilot are probably a little bit easier to understand and will answer a lot of questions that you may have, you know, regarding airliners, you know, why that wing is there, for example, or why engines are under the wing instead of the tail. You know, all those kind of topics that, you know, kind of really appeal to the general public, but they're very interesting, you know, and it's explained from an actual airline pilot perspective, and that's always very nice. And even though these videos are more aimed towards the general public and aviation enthusiasts in general, the great thing about Mentour Pilot is that he explains everything in detail, actually. You know, he really takes the time to explain in this video what it's all about. So make sure you check out the channel. There's some great videos out there. I think he releases on average a week, you know, video a week, so definitely worth your subscription. Then on to number 6, and of course I had to include this one. That's Captain Joe. Very similar to Mentour Pilot, actually, also a European pilot, currently flying the 747, previously flying the Airbus A320. Now I think even more so than Mentour Pilots, these videos are really aimed at the general public, you know, just raising questions that you may have about aircraft. And, you know, Captain Joe explains it in a very nice way, very structured, usually a little bit shorter than Mentour Pilots, so it's a little bit easier to watch probably. So it doesn't go as much in detail, I would say. But again, it's an airline pilot perspective, so you can definitely see that guys like these are very knowledgeable, know what they're talking about. You know, I can explain everything very clearly, and that's very nice. So definitely check out that channel as well. Again, also with weekly videos, I believe. So definitely worth another subscription. So far we've mainly discussed channels that you know, feature pilots or you know, feature mainly theory. But there are also a lot of channels which actually, you know, are run by pilots, and you can actually see them in action. And the first one that I want to mention is number 7, and that is Stevo One Knievo. Now Stevo is a you know, pilot in the US, you know, flying more the smaller commercial aircraft like the TBM 850 or, for example, the Cessna Caravan. And he really makes a lot of flights in the US using those smaller airplanes. In the mostly in the Florida area, and these videos are really interesting to watch. You know, you can imagine that these smaller airplanes are not as automated as, you know, bigger airliners, so he really has to do a lot of work. Often he's actually flying alone, flying that you know, aircraft through busy airspace like Miami. So very interesting to see that all in action. So if you're from the US and you really want to get used to ATC phraseology and procedures, definitely check this channel out. He also has some very interesting videos where he, you know, faces some real challenges, like, you know, facing thunderstorms or bad weather. And, you know, you really see that he has to make decisions, and that's very interesting to watch. You can definitely see, you know, the pilot at work here, making the right decision at the right time in order to not, you know, fly into that weather, or not to fly into that weather upon go around, for example. So if you ever thought that your VATSIM flights were stressful, now I think you should check out this channel. There's some very stressful situations in the real world out there in those videos. That's very interesting to watch. And the next channel on the list is channel number 8, and that is The Flying Reporter. Now with Stevo we had kind of the US perspective, but The Flying Reporter is a smaller channel that I actually recently discovered about a private pilot in the UK, so giving you a little bit more the European perspective. Now The Flying Reporter makes very nice videos flying his Piper aircraft all across the UK in different settings, VFR, IFR. And the great thing about this channel is that the guy behind this channel is actually, you know, learning how to fly pretty much. You know, he has his license, but he's really, you know, sharing in his video his journey of, you know, learning more about, you know, being a pilot and learning more about all the procedures. And this also includes mistakes. He actually is very honest in his videos, you know, really recognizing mistakes, because by recording it you can actually, you know, view back and watch your own content and, you know, actually take a look at what went wrong exactly. Because if you would not have a camera recording, you probably would not be able to assess the situation as well as when you did have a camera in the back that was recording. So I'd say this channel is very useful if you're really looking into learning more about general aviation flying in Europe, you know, not only the phraseology and procedures, but also kind of the feeling behind it, and you know, the situations that you can face. You know, just like Steve-O in the US, also the flying reporter flying in the UK faces situations, you know, for example, when traffic comes into the pattern, you cannot see the traffic, and you know, these are all situations that you have to take into account and have to be able to deal with, both yourself as well as you in interaction with air traffic control. So especially now that the summer season is really starting, make sure you check out this channel, and it will definitely give you some inspiration to make some nice general aviation VFR or IFR flights in Europe. Now the next channel that I want to mention is channel number 9, and that's AskCaptainScott. Now this is a really nice channel. This is a channel run by an actual airline captain. We would normally in his daily life flies, I believe, the 777 currently. Previously flew the 747. He has some videos about airlines and, you know, joining airlines as a pilot and some information regarding that. But he actually also has a lot of videos on, you know, general aviation flying in the US and more in kind of a flying lesson kind of style. So you don't really see passively a pilot flying. Now he's really actively engaging as if you were sitting next to him in the actual airplane. You're learning how to fly, starting at the very basics. So if you're totally new to flight simulation, and if you're totally new to general aviation flying, for example, make sure you check out this channel. There's some great videos there. And what's personally great for me is that, you know, I flew a lot of FS2004. That's the flight sim that I started with. And most of the flights in my beginning years took place in the Seattle area, because, you know, your flying lessons with flight instructor Rod Machado actually took place in, you know, mostly in the Seattle area. And I actually have family living there in the real world and visit quite often. So it's really an area that's a little bit familiar to me. It's really nice to actually see these videos mostly run in the Seattle area. So again, this gives you a little bit of a US perspective, but the knowledge from those videos can also be applied to other regions, I would say. And again, it just gets you in the mood for VFR flying, you know, just flying in simple Cessna around, you know, flying across beautiful hilly terrain around the Seattle area during sunset. That's just amazing. You know, it really gives you this pure aviation feeling somehow. So I definitely think you should check it out. And then the final channel, channel number 10, is AirlinePilotGuy. Now the AirlinePilotGuy show is more of a podcast than a YouTube channel, but actually the episodes are recorded usually live on YouTube as well, so that's very nice to see. It's a really nice show run by Captain Jeff, who is an airline pilot in the US as well for a major legacy carrier, as he always calls it. And you know, in his show are other airline pilots as well, also from the UK, and you know, a lot of people that are knowledgeable about aviation, and it's many different topics, both you know, on the airliner spectrum and on the general aviation spectrum. So this is a really nice show. You know, it really feels like you're sitting with these airline pilots, that you're like talking and interacting with them. It's very nice. It's always a very nice atmosphere. And again, it's actually a podcast, so especially if you are commuting, you know, if you really make a lot of hours, you know, traveling by public transport, for example, like I did some years ago. I was just, you know, driving on the train 2 hours to get from university and back. And I was listening a lot to the AirlinePilotGuy show. Usually they discuss the news that has happened in the past week regarding aviation, and they discuss all the different topics that are related to that. And then they actually move towards the feedback of the listeners. So you can actually send feedback, ask questions, you know, record a little audio message, which they will play in the episode and then answer or discuss your question. So it's really nice to watch. You know, it's something that you can just turn on the background, and maybe you will not follow everything, but you can, you know, just pick up topics, you know, that come by that sound interesting, and you can really learn a lot from this as well. You know, you really get answers to questions that you may have as well, especially about, you know, the life as an airline pilot, for example. And again, it's a wide variety of topics. You know, that's what aviation is, from, you know, the social life of an airline pilot to the technology to the law behind, you know, flying airliners or whatever. You know, they really discuss a lot of topics based on the feedback that they get from their listeners or viewers. So make sure that you check out the AirlinePilotGuy show. I definitely think you will enjoy it. So there you go. Those are my top 10 favorite YouTube channels about aviation. And again, there are other channels out there. If I had to mention a few more, like Flight Shops or Stefan Dury, again, there are just a lot of channels out there. So if you have any other channels that you would like to recommend, make sure that you do so in the comment section. It would be much appreciated. For now, I'd like to thank you for watching this video here on the AviationPro channel. You may have noticed that I have a new logo. If you want to see the actual review video from that logo, make sure you check it out. Also check out some tutorials on this channel, and I hope you have a great time watching these YouTube channels. They really have taught me a lot over the years, and I definitely hope they will teach you a lot in the years to come as well. Thanks for watching, and I will see you next time.